development in Stockton and other cities like Stockton across the country, exploring their local and regional impacts. Individual efforts play a role in third city development, and it starts with you.
Do you want to relive the golden days of Stockton? Join Nate Knott on Stockton Alive every first and third Monday at 6 p.m. Tune into thevoiceofstockton.org.
Hi everyone, this is Dr. Julie Dameron, local veterinarian for over 20 years. I am so excited about my new radio show, Tales and Tips, on Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, Voice of Stockton, and KXVS Radio. I will discuss relevant issues affecting animals and pet owners today, how to avoid common problems, and how to extend the quality of life for your cherished companions. As a community advocate, I will also discuss important social issues that affect our city. I plan to showcase organizations and heroes who are doing amazing things to help others. Remember to tune in every Tuesday morning at 10, starting soon.
KXVS, the Voice of Stockton, live. The Voice of Stockton at Stone Soup Studio. KXVS.org.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Breaking Barriers this nice overcast afternoon here in Stockton, California, Port City. You are listening to KXVS, the Voice of Stockton. I'm your host, Jocelyn, and our guest today here on Breaking Barriers is Brian Wagner with Absolute Document Prep. How are you doing today? Thank you for stopping by the station.
Oh, thank you for having me. You're doing pretty good today.
Cool. There's some things that we often don't think about, our day-to-day lives. We just kind of, go home, go to work, and just kind of do the whole thing all over again. And what Brian is going to cover today are some of those things that we should probably start thinking about, depending on what your situation is, especially if you've got property, different assets. I've got I was on Google yesterday and I was looking at the estate planning bucket list. So one of the things that they're suggesting is, there's a few things actually on this list. Do a physical items inventory, start things out, go through inside and outside of your home, make a list of things or items that are worth $100 or more. Examples, of course, the home itself, television sets, jewelry, that kind of thing.
Yeah, good
that's
idea.
just one of the things. And then it goes on and on. And I thought that it was kind of interesting because, like I said, some of these things we don't even think about, follow a non-physical items inventory, non-physical assets, 401k plans, brokerage accounts, all those kind of things. Now we're talking a little bit some serious stuff here. I know that I don't usually cover this kind of thing, but starting the 2018 new year, I think there's some things that, we definitely need to bring up. Assemble a credit card and debts list. That's one of them on the bucket list. Make an organization and charitable membership list. For example, if you're in ARP or Veterans Association, send a copy of your assets list to your estate administrator. Just little things like that. And I think Brian can kind of walk you through those type of things and why it's important to kind of prepare for those kind of things. We all know that whole debacle last year with, I know we don't have the Prince estate, but I remember when Prince didn't have a will and he was just $2 million they had to figure out who it was going to go to, and it went through probate.
Yeah.
So,
which is a long process.
Yeah.
Yeah. The probate timeline, on average, especially for a lot of money, is about 2 years. Mm-hmm. Before the property is distributed. This is after you file for probate, publish, and in this county, it's almost $600 to file. It's $8.99 to publish in the record, and then you need to get your home appraised in some circumstances, notify all the creditors of the debts. It's like a 20-point list, and up until the point of final distribution can take a couple of years. A quick one is 8 months.
Mm-hmm. So let's go over what exactly is probate for those of us that are not really familiar with some of these terms and things. So
when you die, there are two ways that you've there's two statuses, I should say. You die intestate or testate. When you die testate, that means you've prepared a will or a living trust to distribute your assets. Probate is the court process by which either your will is inspected, or if you don't have a will, you go through the process of an intestate probate, and you file, publish. The judge appoints an administrator. They appoint a probate referee, and there are fees involved with all of this. If you hire an attorney, the average, now of course you can, get it for less, get it for more, but most attorneys charge about 3.5% of your estate value by the time it's said and done. Your executor also gets about 3.5%.
Yeah.
The probate ref gets about 1/2 of 1%. Mm-hmm. But it's a long process. Heirs need to be notified. People file challenges. People pop up and say, "Oh, he owes me money." Kids no one knew about pop up.
Oh yeah.
So
all these relatives come out of the woodwork. They're like, "Hey."
Yeah, Jim owed me a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And then they have
Relatives
to
and friends.
look at the validity of the claims because they could potentially be a creditor.
So if you don't have a will in place, it takes.
No, if you have a
If
will,
you have a will.
or no will, it's
Okay.
the same process. Having a will just makes it easier when it comes to distribution, because they might have disinherited somebody who then doesn't get that share, or perhaps they wanted to bypass their children and just give it to a charity. Mm-hmm. In that case, that will is good to have, but you still need to go through the very expensive probate process.
Oh, okay.
Unless the estate is worth less than $150,000, then there's an expedited process, but still could be pretty lengthy.
Yeah. Well, like I was saying, I just remember back when when Prince passed away, and he had all these people, like I said, just coming out of the woodwork, and without that, you're just gonna, without a will and going through probate, it's just gonna take so much longer.
Yeah. A living trust is ideal. That way you avoid the probate process completely.
Yeah.
And save all that money.
What are some of the details of putting together a living trust?
Well, you meet with someone who puts them together, like myself.
Yep.
We
We've
give
got
you
Brian.
We give you a questionnaire. It's about 14 pages long. It takes a couple of weeks generally for most of the clients to return it, because they have to have conversations. If they have minor children, they need to figure out where the kids are going to go. Mm-hmm. Who's going to manage the money, who's going to manage the trust, who's going to execute the will, who's going to be the executor, who's going to handle paying off all their bills, and assuming that person doesn't survive, who in succession will take over as trustee or caregiver to the kids. Okay. So they have to have a lot of conversations with a lot of people. Mm-hmm. They have to discuss with their significant other or their children what their end of life wishes are, because our trust also includes advanced medical directives, HIPAA disclosures, and burial instructions.
Wow.
So they would have to, hey, I want to be cremated.
Uh-huh.
Some, I've had a few that they want to be returned to the Philippines. If all their kids are living here, they might not want mom to be sent back there. They might want to have her close.
Sure.
So you want to have it written down and make everybody aware so that your wishes get followed.
Mm-hmm. So there's a difference between a will and a trust. Can you tell us the difference between the two?
A will is a testamentary document. You have to follow certain procedures to make it legitimate. And it is a document that needs to be probated. And the primary difference between it and a trust, not only it's cheaper to put together, I recommend it for clients who are, maybe they're very elderly.
Yeah.
They don't own
I think closer to the retirement ages, they're kind of, not necessarily.
They don't own anything. They have very little assets. Mm-hmm. they're maybe living with a child and they have a few $1,000s in the bank, or maybe nothing. Maybe they're on Medi-Cal and they just have possessions. Maybe an old piano, but they're living, that is when I would recommend a will. But I don't recommend. I just tell people, hey, this is how it works if you have a will. This is how it works if you have a trust, and they have to make the decision. I'm not an attorney. I don't give legal advice.
Yeah.
But
I got to make sure you guys understand that.
Yeah, so I just present them with a definition, and I can tell them this is what the probate process is in your county, and show them off county websites what it is. And normally they say, well, then why would I get a will? I'm going to get a trust. And then I tell them the different types of trusts, and then they pick one. And then we give them a questionnaire. They fill it out. And when they return it to us, we do all the work and give them back a packet. A married couple's packet is somewhere between 120 and 150 pages, depending on if there's minor children. And, you get the power of attorney, you get healthcare directives, you get property lists, you get everything that you need to make the transition easy for your kids. And we usually finish it in a week or two, get it back to them. And then there's a stack of documents that need to be notarized. Okay. Then once those are notarized, some of them need to be recorded, like your deeds, the certification of trust, a couple other documents. Once that's done, the trust is funded. They might need to visit their banks. But generally the process is fairly laid out very clearly for them.
Yeah, it looks pretty well organized.
Yeah, and they get a nice packet. Everything's tabbed and labeled very well, so there's no issue. Then you put it in a fire safe and tell a few people how to get at it.
Yeah, just a few people. Why? Okay, so one of the questions is, why does the average person need a trust? Like, I know that, in my community, we are all, a lot of us are blue collar, working class kind of. Why is it important for us to and is it more, who would you recommend a trust for? I mean, is it more recommended for,
What I would say is if you have, if you own a home, I would strongly recommend either getting a trust or talking to somebody who can explain to you the difference between probating your estate and not probating it. You might not need that. You might have great end of life long-term care insurance. So going on long-term Medi-Cal eventually won't be an issue for you. And or your kids are wealthy and they agree to take care of you at home in your old age.
Don't wish.
So in that case, maybe simply transferring the home to the kids. There could be implications as far as taxes and gift taxes, but that's something that I would say talk to a tax professional about before you make that decision. But I could definitely tell you these are the options. I can't recommend one, but I can tell them what the options are. Tell them to talk to their tax person. Their tax person generally can tell them what the best route to take is.
So everyone, I'm here in the station, KXVS, the voice of Stockton, with my guest, Brian Wagner. He is with Absolute Document Prep here in town. And he actually, you travel a lot from Sacramento to the Bay Area, helping out clients for this kind of thing. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about him in detail and at your own time, you've got a website as well, right?
Yeah, absolutelegaldocs.com. And we have a Facebook page, and we do have seminars on Robin Hood and Pershing. We run a little office space from Exertus Financial Partners, where I also work for them. And we have a little classroom there. And we hold seminars about twice a month. And they can come and find out about wills and trusts. But I'm happy to travel to your home and give you the seminar in person or meet at the office any other time.
How much does it cost for a trust?
Usually, it's $825 is our price. If you're single, it's about $100 to notarize. If you're married, it's a couple hundred to notarize because it's $15 a signature. And there's about 7 signatures per person. Okay. And then you have to record, if you have one home, you have to record about 3 documents. Okay. So it's about $90 there. But This month until the end of January, we're offering a deal. It's $500 for the living trust.
Okay. That's actually a really good.
It's a good deal.
Yeah. So you guys need to get 2018 started off on the right foot, and if you've got questions on it, you can contact Brian and ask in more detail, because there's some things that you don't necessarily want to cover on air and stuff, because privacy matters and stuff. So
it's a delicate subject. People
Yeah.
It's just like in life insurance. People do not want to discuss death.
Yeah.
It's a taboo thing. But for that reason, we get calls all the time from folks because we also do probate management, and that's what happens if someone dies without a will or a trust.
Mm-hmm.
And we help them file their paperwork and tell them what the next steps are as the process progresses. And it's a lot more expensive, both on our end and in court and for publication fees. And almost every single one of those kids, once they're done dealing with the parent's death, signs up for a living trust so that their kids can avoid it.
Yeah. So again, I was looking at this bucket list. Number 10, create a will.
Yeah, when you get a will, like I said, if you don't have a lot of assets, it's going to work great for you.
If you don't have a lot.
My father, he didn't have a lot of money when he passed, and he had cancer, and he was on Medi-Cal and Medicare. And when he passed, the most expensive thing he owned was his television,
mm-hmm.
And an old trailer that he lived in. So he didn't have to go through the probate process. We just went to the DMV and put everything.
It was real simple.
Real simple. He didn't really need a will, but if he did own, let's say, a rare gun or an expensive car, then he might want one. But if you own real property, you should get a trust.
See, all these material possessions makes things so much more complicated.
Well, and they make it very expensive to move it from one generation to another if you don't have this in place.
That's amazing too. I mean, at this day and age, I'm thinking, okay, everything, a lot of these like heirloom items. I remember we inherited a few heirloom items, and we didn't know the cost of some of these things, and we didn't know whether or not we got them insured, like a grandmother clock and things like that. But when it got damaged, there was no way we were able to replace it. And a lot of them were like heavy duty stuff, like still made of oak. Now we're just so used to getting more of the lightweight things like IKEA furniture and super simple, almost disposable things. But yeah, material possessions makes things a little bit more complicated. That is why you need somebody like Brian who can kind of guide you through that if trouble comes along and something happens to somebody in your family. Bucket list also says visit a financial planner and an estate attorney. It's kind of like what you do, sort of.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
we can't go to court for you. We can't represent you and give you advice. But if you need information about something, we can certainly dig that up from an attorney and get it to you. We went to law school with many, many attorneys. If you do need a piece of advice, we can tell them your situation with your permission, and they can give you this advice you need to move forward.
Awesome. Thank you for tuning in. Breaking Barriers. I've got Brian Wagner here with Absolute Document Prep. And when we come back, we're going to discuss further a little bit about divorce and a little bit about other important things that we're bringing up. 2018, here we go. Coming back.
KXVS on 92.1. Coming soon.
Hi everyone, this is Dr. Julie Dameron, local veterinarian for over 20 years. I am so excited about my new radio show, Tales and Tips, on Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, Voice of Stockton, and KXVS Radio. I will discuss relevant issues affecting animals and pet owners today, how to avoid common problems, and how to extend the quality of life for your cherished companions. As a community advocate, I will also discuss important social issues that affect our city. I plan to showcase organizations and heroes who are doing amazing things to help others. Remember to tune in every Tuesday morning at 10, starting soon.
Attention, Stockton. Are you experiencing a transition in business, relationships, health, or your life purpose? I'm Darius Oliver, and I help people to look within and find clarity and direction in their constantly changing lives. Tune in and listen with me as I go deep into your patterns and personal cycles through divine numerology. Any life transition you're experiencing can be illuminated by an in-depth analysis of your chart. For the first time in Stockton, you now have access to a professional numerologist here to help you light your own way. I'm in the booth to help you find your own truth. Tune in to Divine Numerology every Friday at 3 p.m. on the Voice of Stockton.
Welcome to the afternoon entertainment hour at OJ's Juice Bar, and here's today's juice.
Listen to OJ's Juice Bar, Sundays at 4 p.m. on KXVS, the Voice of Stockton.
Do you want to relive the golden days of Stockton? Join Nate Knott on Stockton Alive every first and third Monday at 6 p.m. Tune into thevoiceofstockton.org.
All right, I turned down a little bit. Okay, so I know we totally just cut off like everyone's favorite song, but we wanted to tell everybody that we have a new YouTube channel, and we need you to subscribe to the new channel because we're not uploading or streaming on the old channel anymore. It's still the Voice of Stockton.
It's going to be fresh, brand new.
New content.
Great content.
Yeah.
Only exclusively on KXVS.
Yes, if you on this video will be a link in the description where you can click it, but if you want to type it in, we made it real easy for you. You know bit.ly, the short link, bit.ly. So you can type bit.ly/subscribe_KXVS_YouTube. So bit.ly/subscribe_KXVS_YouTube. That's easy enough, right, Donovan? Donovan is a silent minority.
Speechless.
I'm trying to get my accent right. Hold on. I'm just throwing over it in my head. Let me start. Hold on. Yeah, hold on. How to do it? All right, I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to go subscribe to this new channel. It sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Yo, what's different about this channel than the last one?
Well,
what's changed?
Well, we're making some changes. We're always doing something new, but this is something that we had to do this, and we've had to do this for a while. So this new channel, it's really not much different, except the channel will be different. So all our new content is going on the channel, and we're going to migrate all our videos over to that channel as well, and we won't be using the old channel. So if you're waiting on that channel, you'll be missing it. So please do subscribe to our new channel, and it's real easy. Follow us on Facebook, thevoiceofstockton.org. You can find us everywhere. Keep watching us on our live streams, but that's it. We just wanted to break in and tell you that.
And let's make Stockton better together.
That's right. Make Stockton better together. All right. So, you know what? Let's start this track over because this is the best bomb song. And thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you. KXVS, the Voice of Stockton with Donovan and Mr. Details, Dustin Breakwell. This is Governor Don signing off.
This is Tom Patty, a San Joaquin County Supervisor. Join us weekly for our local reality show. We talk about all things local, political, current, and real. Join us on KXVS, the Voice of Stockton. catch us at KXVS Radio or at thevoiceofstockton.org.
This is Barbara Berrigan Perea with Delta Flows, a radio show by the Voice of Stockton and Restore the Delta. This is the weekly radio show where we discuss everything Delta related: the environment, water management, water quality, farming, history and culture, public events, recreation, Delta food, and the arts. Tune in to Delta Flows on KXVS, the Voice of Stockton, streaming live on Facebook and YouTube at KXVS Radio.
KXVS, the Voice of Stockton, live. The Voice of Stockton at Stone Soup Studio. KXVS.org.
Welcome back to Breaking Barriers at KXVS, the Voice of Stockton, and I've got Brian Wagner here as my guest today with Absolute Document Prep. And for those that are looking for some more contact information, I know we talked about his website earlier. Is that the Absolute's number? Is 209-707-2055?
Yeah, or 844-4-LAW-AID.
Okay. And also you can get a hold of Brian directly at 209-598-8427.
That's my cell, so you can go ahead and text.
And also email absolutedocs@yahoo.com. That's ABSOLUTE docs, one word, at yahoo.com. So I actually met Brian last year at a mixer, our local mixer at the Community Western Ranch Small Business Networking Group. And just, you know, we've had him on board with that group for a few months now, and been really informative. So other things we wanted to talk about is like power of attorney and possible advanced medical directives there, right?
Absolutely. Our living trust comes with power of attorney. The power of attorney, you get one for each parent if there's a married couple, or husband and wife, even if there's no children. And they're very thorough. They contain the required language that Medi-Cal requires to have in a power of attorney.
Yeah.
And we can set it up a lot of different ways, not only to give gifts from the trust, but to manage property within the trust. And we set it up so that it has a springing effect.
Mm-hmm.
Which means you don't, when you fill out the power of attorney, let's say both spouses are competent and able to make decisions. If one spouse were to become incapacitated, the other spouse would then start making decisions for them.
Yeah, of course.
If two of them were to become incapacitated, or if there's only one left alive and they become incapacitated, then the power of attorney would activate. It would spring into effect. Mm-hmm. And then whoever the power of attorney is would then be able to exercise their power. Mm-hmm. So when you get that, you don't have to worry about them, someone stealing from you. But generally it's your children anyway. So and we can even set it up so that more than one doctor needs to confirm your incapacitation. Mm-hmm. It doesn't just need to be, one doctor says, yeah, they're entering a stage of dementia, it's time for you to take over. You can put it in there that at least two doctors need to confirm that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things that also you guys cover is incorporation.
Yeah. But in regards to the trust, we also cover advanced medical directives. Let me just touch on that before we move on. Yes. So our trust also comes with advanced medical directives. So you can give instructions to the people who are going to take over for you should you become incapacitated as to what your wishes are, how much care you want to receive, at what point do you want to stop receiving care and move into a comfort care situation. We also provide HIPAA disclosures, and we can list more people on that than are actually making decisions for you. we can put a litany of family members down, so that should you become incapacitated, for example, all your brothers and sisters, all your nieces and nephews, all your children and their spouses can all call the hospital and get information to whatever degree you want that to happen. Otherwise, everybody knows who's called the hospital recently to find out information about a relative. 9 times out of 10, they say, "Oh, we can't give you that information." HIPAA laws. But if you wanted to avoid that, we can, definitely give you that disclosure.
There's a way around with that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And did you want to move on to incorporation and talk about that a little bit? Because I know that's seems like a simple process, right?
Well, it's a multi-step process that takes a little while to work through to the end.
Okay, so not so simple.
And you want to get it in before March 15th if you're planning to incorporate. Some of the benefits of incorporation: number one, separation of liability. You can protect your business assets from your personal assets, and vice versa. Number two, corporate tax splitting. Most people who are self-employed file as a sole proprietor, and they pay a 15% self-employment tax on that, any income they have after expenses, anything they take as a draw. And that's good for your Social Security side of your bank account and your unemployment, should you need it. But it is not very beneficial in regards to your tax bill at the end of the year, because you have to pay 15% of everything you bring in. When you have a corporation, an S Corp or an LLC taxed as an S Corp, you can engage in corporate tax splitting, which means 40% of the money you would draw you take as a W-2 employee, and the other 60% you take as an owner of shares in the company. And you only need to pay self-employment tax on that W-2 income that was received as a result of your work efforts. So you save 15% of 9%, or of 60%, excuse me, which is 9% of your total income. Okay. So if you make $100,000 a year and you incorporate, you're saving $9,000 a year. You will have to spend a little bit more money on a tax preparer, but not $9,000. So you still come out ahead. And then I show people how to take that and invest it in other ways. I also work with Exertus Financial Partners, and I show them how to put it in maybe an insurance policy where not only the money can grow, but they could build an instant estate for their family and when their kids pass, and it gives them living benefits they could take advantage of.
Yeah, it's good to know that you've got all these resources and different ways of connecting everybody to whatever they want to achieve. What is important with forming a corporation, and who needs one?
Well, with the current tax laws in place, I think as far as a liability protection, it's good for everybody. As far from a taxation perspective, I can't really speak to that. I do have tax people that I work with, and if you call me and you want to take a look at whether it's a good idea or not, we can definitely put you in contact with those people, and you can tell them how much you make, bring home, and they can tell you whether it's a good idea or not. But for most people, it ends up being the right way to go, unless it's a very small business that doesn't really make a lot of money. Then there's not necessarily tax advantage. Maybe you want to have all that income contributing to your Social Security, to try to build up some sort of retirement. But if you're making a lot of money, you need to talk to a tax person. I have a couple I work with, Jennifer Culver and Tracy. She's really sharp and has spent a lot of time studying the current tax law. Kathy Corlin, she's an enrolled agent here in Stockton, and they really know their stuff.
Nice. So Do the new tax rules work favorably then, if a corporation is formed?
I think in most cases, yes.
Yeah.
In most cases, yes. Sometimes a guy has a company where he makes $20,000 a year. It might not be a good idea for him because his exclusions that he gets automatically cover almost all of his income. Yeah, so it wouldn't make it wouldn't make a heck of a lot of difference.
How much does it cost to form a corporation?
Well, if you hire us, we charge you $500 to prepare all the paperwork and give you a good set of instructions as far as what your requirements are. And it's all information published by attorneys that we print out for you and give you. When you want us to actually go ahead and process the paperwork for you, we charge $750 to actually mail everything out, retrieve it. Then we mail out the next step, retrieve it, go to the county. Yeah. So there's steps, and it's spread out over time. But that $750, we don't make any money on that. That's the $250 is the additional fees that you pay to the state, the newspapers, and
there's a lot of fees.
Yeah.
I remember when we first started Weston Ranch Community Association. We didn't have an attorney to help us out initially. We kind of did it all on our own, and we put we got everybody together and filled out all the paperwork, and it took weeks. And I think with that one, it got kicked back like maybe once.
Yeah, and the kickbacks is what happens if you don't know what you're doing. And if you're forming a nonprofit, it's more complicated.
Yeah.
And it's more expensive. You can even expedite it for a 24-hour approval process through the Secretary of State, but it's $325. That's their fee. Then once that's done, it has to go to the Attorney General, and all this has to be done before the fundraising is approved. Yeah. So it's a long, complicated process.
And there's so many branches involved too, and that's the part was like, wow, I thought we did that part, or wait, we got to do that part and then this part. But when we finally got around to doing Western Ranch visual arts boosters, that was like a total no-brainer. It went really smooth, and that was me and just a couple others that put that one together. So the first one was like a bunch of people, and then the second one, the visual arts boosters one,
too many cooks the first
maybe
time.
That's what it was. Yeah, maybe that's what it was.
So if you don't have the time to do it, and you want to get it done, so that's the main thing that our fee involves is just the time it takes to fill it out. With everything we do, we give you a questionnaire. No matter what it is, you fill it out and sign it, and that's the information we use to prepare your paperwork. But our questionnaires are very complete. Sometimes, like for a living trust, for example, you'll come in and it'll be you and Grandma, but when Grandpa passed, they never took his name off the title.
Oh.
So there's extra paperwork involved, and if you did hire an online service, you're going to get it most likely a slightly inferior product. The people that put it together aren't going to have their law degrees like my partner and I. So they don't have, they hire, a lot of these trust companies hire a high school kid for, $12 an hour, or a college kid. To fill out a form on a program.
Well, what kind of information you need to start? I mean, I think you kind of touched on that.
Well, mainly names, addresses, and phone numbers.
All the basics.
If you and what your choices are, and if you have property, we need the page of your grant deed that has your names on it and how it's held, and then we need the Exhibit A, and we need that for each property. The Exhibit A is your property description. With an incorporation, it's very minimal. It's a 5-page questionnaire. It's not a lot. A nonprofit is more substantial. What we need, because they want an explanation of what you're doing and what your goal is, and that involves the Secretary of State's office, the Attorney General's office, the county recorder's office, a newspaper to publish, and
the city, everything.
Yeah, and it takes a long time relatively compared to an incorporation. Yeah. It takes a little bit more time before you get approved and rolling, but once you do, most people are very happy with the result.
You mentioned something about your partner. I know Amber covers certain
she does
parts
like
of the business too.
She
right?
does the family law.
Yeah.
So
she handles the divorce and custody issues.
Divorce and custody issues, unlawful detainer.
That's good. You guys are kind of like an all-encompassing organization. So.
Yeah. Well, we try to cover as much as we can. We're very limited based on what we're allowed to do. As again, we're not attorneys. We have our law degrees. We're licensed, bonded, and insured. So we do have permission to prepare legal documents. We're also licensed immigration consultants, or I am, and she works with me on that. And you can look me up on the immigration consultant website on the Secretary of State and see my picture and information.
So you're legit.
Yeah, that bonding process is a little bit more complicated. They really check on you thoroughly because you have the opportunity to really do some damage to people's lives with that one, but fully approved and licensed and bonded on that.
There was something you mentioned to me the other day where you said it's kind of considered divorce season right now too.
It is.
Why is that?
I don't know. Why?
In the beginning of the year,
the weather makes everybody a little bit sadder, and then people try to get one more holiday in.
Oh.
One more holiday season, and it doesn't work out. And then when the tax refunds come in, people usually pull the trigger on that. But we do very low cost divorces. If there's no kids or property involved, $4.99. If there's kids and property involved, it's $5.49.
Okay.
And we prepare all your paperwork, and for additional fees, we could actually file it for you. Can't go to court for you.
No.
But
this is like if this would be ideal for somebody with like an amicable kind of.
I think most divorces are.
Yeah.
I think most divorces are like, we're both done. And the custody part of it, if that's contentious, that's fine. You don't have to determine custody on the spot with your partner. You guys can do that later. We can help you with the divorce part, and the court will send you guys to mediation to figure out a schedule for the children, and they have it pretty well worked out to where alternating holidays, alternating 30-day gaps each summer for vacation.
All the details, yeah.
They already have templates in place.
Yeah.
And then you might need a quadro, which is how the court separates your retirement accounts. Or you can stipulate that you don't want each other's retirement account. It all depends on if one person has one and one person doesn't, or how much it is in there. We do not do quadros. You'd have to go hire someone else for that. But again, that's one of those things like custody that you could handle after the fact.
Yeah.
It's not something that you have to do right away unless you're at retirement age.
I think you wanted to touch on kind of switching back to corporation, trust-owned a corporation. Did we cover that one yet?
Yeah. Well, if you own a corporation and you have stock and you want to put the shares in the corporation, very specific language has to be placed in the trust. And if you go to a preparer who doesn't know that, or if they have software that doesn't cue them to do that and they don't know the difference, they could incorrectly write it. And if the IRS finds out, they'll make you refile. And an S corp has pass-through taxation, which means all the money that comes in goes right back out to the owners, and they pay one set of taxes on it. Because generally the corporation doesn't have any money left at the end of the year, right? It's all distributed.
Yep.
If the language isn't in the trust, the IRS could choose to have you refile every year that trust owned those shares as a C corp. You'd be double taxed. You'd pay penalties.
Oh yeah.
Your trust could fail.
I think there's a lot of.
Be a mess.
There could possibly be a lot of nonprofits in town that have gone through that kind of drama.
Well, I hope not.
But anyway, so again, we've got Brian Wagner here with Absolute Document Preparation. Their website is Absolute. Is it Absolute Documentation?
No, it's Absolute Legal Docs.
Absolute Legal Docs.
Yeah, .com.
And Their contact information, phone number is 209-707-2055. And you can reach Brian directly at 209-598-8427. Also via email, absolutedocs@yahoo.com. Is there anything else you want to cover today before we wrap this up? I think we've got everything covered. That's a lot of info. I mean, even starting with the simple bucket list of what we should do before anything happens to us, start kind of planning.
Yeah, well, we offer other services.
Okay.
Aside from unlawful detainer, we do that for landlords and tenants. It's not free, but if, we've had a client who needed to stay in a property and the landlord wanted to rent it to someone for more rent, and we were able to get them 60 extra days.
Okay.
Little things like that we cover, and it made all the difference in the world to him.
Absolutely.
We also can do just a will if you're in that position where you don't have that many assets. We offer transfer on death deeds if you guys are very solid financially. And
immigration too, I think you mentioned you covered.
Yes, we do immigration. Another main reason for trust that I don't think we got into is Medi-Cal avoidance.
Oh, yeah.
And
I didn't get a chance to cover that. We talked about it the other day, but no.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people understand what happens. So most people don't have long-term care insurance. Mm-hmm. Okay, most people don't have life insurance. Two very bad things.
Right.
But what happens when you're on Medicare and you have a stroke? And the first thing that happens is once you're on Medicare, you pick a supplement, right? So some people have Kaiser, some people have Blue Shield. Whatever their supplement is, the Medicare covers doctor and hospital. Supplement covers prescriptions and other things. Now, the supplement, once you have a life-altering event that potentially puts you in a long-term care situation, is they'll put you in a status called rehab. Have you heard of rehab? It's like a holding queue between something bad just happened, we don't know how bad the permanent effects are, and they need to go into a nursing home. So a lot of people will tell you, hey, what kind of assets do they have? Well, grandma owns a house, and that's it. And she gets her Social Security check. It's nothing fancy.
Super simple, yeah.
Well, what's going to happen is she's going to have to immediately apply for long-term Medi-Cal. Then once she goes into long-term care, Medi-Cal starts paying the bill, and a debt begins accumulating. And as soon as she passes, if she has no surviving spouse, they sell your house. You have 90 days to notify Medi-Cal they died. Oh, wow. Then they come in and sell the house, take their money back, and if there's anything left, then the family will receive it, regardless of will. So you want to get a living trust in place more than 60 months before any permanent Medi-Cal is accepted.
Okay, that's interesting.
If they have a look back of so long, once that look back is that threshold is passed, they can't recover against the estate. So they get a trust when they're 55. When they're 65, they end up in long-term care, 70, because they have a stroke or something. They don't have to worry about the house going anywhere.
Right.
So Medi-Cal avoidance is huge.
Wow.
And almost, a huge percentage of people end up on it who end up in long-term care. Not many people have a 20-year-old long-term care policy that they've been paying for forever.
Wow. It's a lot of good stuff today. Thank you, Brian. There's a lot of things to think about here, but with your guidance, I mean, like I said, you can get a hold of Brian. I've given you guys the contact information already, 209-707-2055, or to contact him directly at 209-598-8427. On your own time, maybe find out more information on their website, absolutedocuments.com.
Absolute Legal Docs.
Absolute Legal Docs. Yeah, I always say that. absolutelegaldocs.com. So we are about to wrap up the show. Yeah, it's restaurant week next week here in Stockton.
I had gastric surgery. I just lost 200 pounds.
Wow.
I can't really eat anything anymore.
Oh, wow. I'm like, I wish I was like...
Yeah. One other thing we offer is expungements.
Expungements.
Which
explain.
You think would be a lot more popular in Stockton.
What is that? I don't even know what that is.
It's where you can get misdemeanors removed from your criminal record.
Oh.
Or you can get felonies reduced to misdemeanors. So
what are you trying to say about Stockton?
I'm from Sacramento, so we have myths about Stockton and scary stories.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. But what you guys can do is look at our website, and there is a section for expungements, and if you scroll down, it explains what can be expunged and what can't be expunged. And that oftentimes is the only thing holding people back from voting or maybe getting a certain job they want to get.
Bummer. From voting even?
Well,
as intricate as...
If you have a felony.
That's true, huh?
Yeah, so you guys can go ahead and take a look at that, and if it works for someone you know or yourselves, go ahead and give us a call. It's only $149.
Oh, I forgot to ask you about this question I had. If you declared bankruptcy and you wanted to keep your home, but you never reaffirmed, because the lawyers never put that I wanted to keep the home, the banks now can't refinance my home. What can I do? This is from a neighbor.
I would say contact a bankruptcy attorney who specializes in that, because that is something that's beyond.
That's kind of like out of your realm.
Well, I'm not allowed to answer the question.
Right. Yeah, not on the air.
Well, not without a license.
Yeah. So there you have it. And next week, I'm probably going to be talking a little about Stockton Restaurant Week. And this is Breaking Barriers. I'm your host, Jocelyn. My guest is Brian Wagner. Take a look at his website and get a little bit more information. If you have any further questions, give him a call. And
we have seminars bi-monthly. So
bi-monthly seminars. Take advantage of that,
too. Yeah, free seminar on wills and trusts.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so I'll see you guys next week. And I am signing off. KXVS, the voice of Stockton.